Hello, hello, and welcome to In Search for Wellness. Hello, and welcome to In Search for Wellness. The leaves in front of us are the leaves of stinging nettle. Stinging nettle. They are called stinging nettle because they sting. If you hold them with bare hands, they will sting you badly. If they touch the surface of your skin, they'll sting you and you may scratch yourself for even 3 days. And at the point when they touch you, you find that some swearings will come up. These green leaves, these green leaves are used greatly worldwide for various reasons. Many people use it for making stinging nettle tea. Others use it for soaps. But particularly, the people, there is a group of people, or there is a society in Kenya. There's a society in Kenya within the Mount Kenya region called the Agikuyu people. The people who live in the slopes of Mount Kenya. They have used this stinging nettle leaf for ages, for generations and generations. They have used these leaves for generations and generations. And I remember my mother telling us one time that every married woman was expected to have a patch of stinging nettle in her homestead or somewhere in her shamba or her garden. So it was a part and parcel. It was part and parcel of the greens that the Agikuyu people ate. The Agikuyu people ate the greens of the pumpkin leaves. They also ate the pumpkins, and they still eat them. And there are others. They also ate the the leaves of beans and mashed the food with leaves of beans. There are many other greens that they used, but in early days, the Agikuyu did not have sukuma wiki, and so they depended much more on the traditional leaves. One of the ways that the stinging nettle was used by the Akikuyus is for mashing the food. Mashing the food, their food called Mukimo, traditional food called Mukimo or Irio. That's how they use the stinging nettle. They use the stinging nettle greatly. And I can remember my grandmothers and my mother, each one of them had their own patch of stinging nettle. So it was part and parcel of the vegetable to be eaten. We have seen that the stinging nettle has got very many health benefits. Very many health benefits. And in some places, sometimes even in some countries in the world, stinging nettle has been used for medicinal purposes and could be actually be prescribed as medicinal purpose, as medicine. There are many people who use it for arthritis because the leaves are good for arthritis. And I have just read in my research that the rhizome that runs down in the ground is also good for the prostate. It is very good for the prostate. And the stem is also good for other purposes. This is In Search for Wellness. This is In Search for Wellness, and welcome this day to In Search for Wellness. Today we are presenting to you how the people who for a long time have lived the slopes of Mount Kenya, how they have how they have how they have taken care of their health, how they have eaten, what kind of a healthy diet they have eaten, what kind of a healthy diet they have eaten. Today, I want to present to you and to just demonstrate to you the kind of food that the people who lived at the slopes of Mount Kenya for many years have preserved. They have preserved their lives in the years passed by. What kind of foods did they eat? And how is it that they lived long lives without any of these degenerative diseases? Welcome this day to In Search for Wellness. And today we are going to look at how the Akikuyu people at the slopes of Mount Kenya cooked their main cultural diet. Their main cultural diet, which gave them such health and such strength for very many years. And they lived long for many years, up to over 100 years, without the diseases of cancer or cholesterol or high blood pressure. And they continued working until when they were still very old. They continued working in their shabas, even when they were still old. So in front of me are a few items which are critical in the diet of the Akikuyu people. Before me is a bunch of stinging nettle. This stinging nettle, it may be a bit withering. It was harvested a while and it has refused to take in water. And so this is a bunch of stinging nettle. Stinging nettle, if you are searching or if you have looked into the internet, you'll see it is greatly being used a lot. And even in ancient times in many countries in the world, stinging nettle has been known for its medicinal purposes. Stinging nettle has been known for its medicinal purposes. It is very rich in in vitamins, rich in all amino acids, the rich is in minerals. It is also very rich in antioxidants. It is also very rich in antioxidants and minerals like calcium that really are very, very helpful for the bones. So this leaf, the stinging nettle, is part and parcel of the Akikuyu culture. It is a part and parcel of the Akikuyu livelihood. My mother used to tell us that every woman, every wife in her compound or even in her shaba, she had to grow a patch of stinging nettle. There's a stinging nettle. Every woman in the Akikuyu families had to have a patch of the stinging nettle, because the stinging nettle was a major leaf and major vegetable that was used greatly by the Akikuyu. And when I come to look backwards and I do my research and I keep asking myself, how come the people in the mountains these days we are dying every day, especially because of diseases of cancer and diabetes. And when I look back and I realize that my people, the people of the mountain, the people who live at the slopes of Mount Kenya, they have stopped using this leaf. These days, there are very few of them who are able to access this leaf of stinging nettle. And the time we are growing up, every woman had to have this stinging nettle. And so this stinging nettle was a leaf. It's a leaf that was used greatly, was commonly within the Akikuyu people. At the moment, what we do is that the stinging nettle, because it stings, one has to put it in hot water, wash it and put it in hot water so that the stinging stops. And when you have when you have washed it, you can do it. You can blanch it. You can blanch it and keep it in the freezer, and use it as a vegetable. But for the purpose of cooking this main meal of the Agikuyu, the stinging nettle, I would take it today in this age. I would take it and I put it in a sufuria, and I put it in a cooking pot, and I'll boil it, heat it, steam it. I'll steam it. I'll not put a lot of water. It's very little water for the purpose of steaming, and I add sodium bicarbonate so that that one will help it to cook and cook completely. And then I can take it and blend it. I blend it, and what I get is a liquid. It's a liquid stinging nettle that is rich in everything. It's rich in chlorophyll. You can see how deep the chlorophyll is. You blend it also together with the soft stems. You don't take the leaves only. You also take the top stem and blend it together with the top stems. So I blend it like this so that I have already I have already a stinging nettle. What I will do with this kind of liquid is I'll put it in small containers, divide it in small containers, and I preserve it in my freezer. I'll preserve it in my freezer. The next day when I want to make my traditional irio, my traditional mukimo, which is the traditional food of the Agikuyu, I will just I'll have my stinging nettle ready. So this major leaf that we have talked about, the stinging nettle, which is very 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 popular. It is a leaf that is so popular in the world today. And you'll see when you look in the literature and the research, you'll find that they have a lot of research has been done on this leaf for very many years, and it has been found that the rhizome of this root, the rhizome of this is very good for prostate cancer. It's very good for prostate cancer. And this leaf also is said to also help control sugar in the blood system. So it may be very good also in controlling diabetes. In my next book here, I have some items. What the Agikuyu have done in the past. What the Agikuyu have done in the past, they have had the green bananas, what we may call matoke. The green bananas, they may call matoke. What you do, you just peel out the peel, and you're not peel it with a knife like we do it today, because the liquid called mathina in the banana is very protective. It's very protective. This leaf, even if you leave it there, it will not decay and it will not decompose, because the fluid which is in that leaf is very, very protective, protects and stops the process of decay. And the way the bananas, matokes, protects itself is the way that it will protect our bodies from decay. So in the process of cooking the Kikuyu cultural food, you take bananas. Our forefathers, our grandparents, and our parents and our grandparents would take really a lot of bananas. And Kwanzaa was that time the big Kikuyu banana. That is what they use, has more protective power than even the Matoke banana. And all this would be peeled into the Agikuyu pot, in the African cooking pot. To be peeled into the African cooking pot. And to it would be added potatoes. Potatoes would be peeled and also would be added. So the Agikuyu cooking pot that would be used was a very big pot, with a very big pot on three stones with wooden fire, with a big flame of fire burning and cooking and heating every content that is inside the food, inside the pot. And so that particular one was purposely for a demonstration, because we don't have that kind of fire to cook with a cooking pot at the moment. But today, when I want to cook my own irio, Like it has been done traditionally. I would take my green bananas or matoke. We don't have the big Kikuyu bananas at the moment, but I'll take the matokes and I'll take my potatoes. I'll peel my Irish potatoes, and I will also to it I add arrowroots. I'll add arrowroot. So I'll have three types of complex carbohydrates, the matokes, the Irish potatoes, and also the arrowroots. And when they are ready, I will also have my pre-boiled maize and beans. This is my example of a pre-boiled maize and beans, but this is maize and pigeon peas. This is maize and pigeon peas that have been pre-boiled and then put in this container and already frozen. You can see it has a lot of ice. It has a lot of ice because it is already frozen. So in modern times, what I will do, I will take a day and prepare my githeri. I could prepare my githeri with the normal beans. I could prepare my githeri, maize and beans, maize and legumes. I could prepare it with maize and pigeon peas. I could prepare it with maize and the black beans, which we also call jahe. I will prepare with that kind of things. But we find that the legume range is very, very big, and people can use the kind of legume that is okay with them that does not use gas. So this one is a pre-frozen, so I just return it in the freezer after this demonstration. So this is the kind of how I would get my githeri. I've shown you my how I process and how I source out my githeri, because I still continue in my home and with my children. We still continue making the traditional Agikuyu food. We still continue making the traditional Agikuyu food because I believe it was a great food. It was a great food, and it is still a great food today, because like that githeri you have seen that the legume and the grains and the legume, the maize and the pigeon peas, they balance each other and they complete the essential amino acids. So it is complete in a good quality protein. It is full of fiber, good fiber, and also it is full of complex carbohydrates. It is rich in minerals and vitamins, and so it is a complete. It is really a complete food. And so I will prepare my complex carbohydrates from the matoke, from the potatoes, and from the arrowroots. And I will use those onions which are there with some oil to fry. You fry that food, you fry the starches, and then again you add the githeri. You add the githeri, and when you are ready, I'm ready, I will add the pre-prepared stinging nettle weed, the stinging nettle blend. That is what I will use. I add to my cooking food, and when it is ready, I cook it slowly until it is ready. I obviously add salt. If you want any other flavorings, one can add as many flavorings as they like. And when it is ready, I just mash it up. I just mash it up, and voila, I get my traditional food. Here is my Mukimo. Here is my idio. Here is my cultural traditional Mukimo, traditional idio. This is our traditional food, which is such a special food. It's such a very special and tasty food, and it is so nutritious. It is so nutritious. I know that this food was powerful because when my grandmother would cook it and serve it in bowls with a calabash and keep it in a tray in the granary, it would stay for a whole week without going bad. But it did not need to be heated. They did not need to be heated because it is self-preserving. So this is my Mukimo. This is my Irio. This is my irio that I have cooked from those items, beautiful, wonderful, powerful items that I've given you. And this is a very, very good food. This is a very powerful food. If people are to eat this kind of food consistently on daily basis, I tell you, people will never fall sick of these degenerative diseases because of the protective power of the ingredients that have been put there. And we have seen that there are no simple sugars, there are no simple carbohydrates. It is all complex carbohydrates. This particularly was made with maize and beans called githeri, with dried garden peas. And you can see how it is possible to create something so wonderful and so powerful, so beautiful, so nutritious, so delicious as a traditional food. People are so attached to traditional foods, and traditional foods are a special for every people. And this is a traditional food for the people who lives on the slopes of Mount Kenya, the Akikuyu. And because this is the kind of food they ate for many years, they never fell sick. They grew very tall and very strong. They were very strong, and they lived for so many years. They did not have diseases like cancer, diabetes, cholesterol, degeneration of any sort. They were able to work in their shabas even when they were 100 years old. One of my grandmother was walking tall. She had the streaks, the genes of Maasai, and she was walking tall even in her very old age. And my other grandmother, maternal grandmother, she also lived to 100 years, and she was working, and she was still working and cooking for herself, and going to the shop and farming her potatoes. And she used to get the leaves of beans to mash her own irio, her own mukimo. And this mukimo is a special food that the Akikuyus should not throw away. Every Mukikuyu in this country and everybody else who would be attracted to this food, I would encourage you to continue eating this food. Just like the people from Western Kenya, they eat their ugali by taking their maize grains to the mill, and they also have their own traditional grains. They also have their own traditional grains. It is very important for us to sustain and to maintain our cultural foods, because our cultural foods, they carried a lot of antioxidants. These foods carried a lot of antioxidants and a lot of incredible complex carbohydrates. And you can see like this one had full protein. Even the stinging nettle has got very high levels of protein, and it has got complete amino acids. And you realize that the best way to make your mukimo is to ensure that your leaves are more, so that you have intense green. You have intense green in your mukimo, so that your mukimo is really intense green. So that is a demonstration without really cooking demonstration for you to see what it is that we need to pass on to our children. We need to pass on this kind of food to our children and generations to come, because you can see that the diseases of this age of degeneration is decapacitating our lives and our bodies, even young people. Even the young people and the young generation with their ability and power and capacity, you can see that their lives are greatly threatened because of the kind of lifestyle and the kind of food that people are eating. I thank you very much. I thank you very much for listening to this video. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for tagging by. And I trust that wherever you are, you will be encouraged to seek out traditional foods, so that you can use the traditional foods for your life and for your family, to empower your life, to protect your life, to protect yourselves, and so that the body and the cells can be able to protect your body. Thank you very, very, very much for watching.